Good morning, guys. This is Sean with Integrity Ranch. Just over here at this leased piece of ground. I'll show you guys some of this grass. It's kind of a sad day for us. This is where we were planning on bringing the cows next. We haven't had the cows here since the middle of August. So there's some grass grown up. It doesn't look as good on the video, but when you have, there's about 80 open acres here of grass, so it adds up. So, little story here, I guess. We're losing this piece of ground, this lease piece. The landowner's taking it back, so I'm here to get my hay and roll stuff up, and it's kind of depressing. But I guess it's part of it. You learn, figure stuff out, and you do better next time, hopefully. So, I shook hands with this landowner on a 5-year lease. I was going to build 2 ponds on the property for 5 years of lease. So, he lives out of state. I got 1 pond built. Pretty nice sized pond up there. You can kind of see the bank up there. It costed me a lot more to have the pond built than I thought. So I thought the guy was doing, he was getting the better end of the deal, but not a problem. So, we got 5 years. I'm not in too big of a hurry to build that second pond. Well, less than 2 years in, he calls me. He lives out of state. We don't talk much. I send him pictures of, updates and brush hogging and, trying to keep him caught up to what's happening. He never acts very interested, like he even cares. We rebuilt this fence. This fence wouldn't hold a buffalo it wouldn't hold the tamest of an animal. It was overgrown. The wires were all broke. So we rebuilt this fence. Added 3 new wires. We were able to reuse 1 out of the old ones. Put that hot wire on there because we needed it for power to power our high tensile fence here that splits the property for strip grazing. Show you guys this fence. So yeah, did these things. Hours and hours and days into fixing up the perimeter fence to hold cows. But he never really seemed to care. It was one of those things, where I didn't have a relationship with the landowner. So we got a 2-strand high tensile with fiberglass posts that goes up to the pond so you can strip these easier. But, I met up with him once in 2 years. Talked on the phone a couple times. He never really had time to talk. He didn't care. And it was just one of those deals where I have a lot of leases that I don't have contracts on. Most of them I don't have contracts on. And I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, guys. That's how I started. And most people are pretty honest. You shake their hand, they're going to stick to it. So, am I learning from this? Yes. Will I lease a piece without a contract to someone like this that I don't know? No, I'm not going to do that again. But guys, I reminded him of our 5-year contract, shaking hands, and he remembered it, and he said he didn't care. So when you're dealing with people like that, it's pretty tough, So, this is going to be a little rough for us, losing out on this grass. It doesn't look that great, but it's decent, and there's enough of it, and we're getting close enough to spring that, between the hay we have here and this, it was just, we were going to be smooth sailing, it felt like. So yeah, we just struggled to communicate with each other. He just didn't really ever care. There was nothing I did that really, I'd send him pictures, he wouldn't reply back. I'd call him just to check in, see what was up, and he would be busy and didn't want to talk, So he calls me less than 2 years in, says, hey, we're going to be taking our piece back sometime this year, 2024. And I'm kind of, stuttering around like, what? I thought we had a deal. And I'm like, well, is it something I did? Anything I could have done better? And he's like, no, we just had a change of plans. We want our piece back. We got some stuff going we want to do. And I'm like, oh man, that sucks. We had a deal, just trying to fill out the situation. If there's something I can do better, I want to know. And so I'm, we're on the phone. I'm not sure what to say. I'm completely shocked. We're ending a 5-year lease, pretty much right at 2 years. Well, that was when I got the phone call, right before 2 years. But I'm thinking, well, I'll get the cows there. I'll graze my grass, feed my hay. He'll take it this summer sometime. I'll have some time to prep, So then a little time goes by and he texts me and he's like, hey, you need to build that other pond. And I'm kind of just jaw dropped. And so I'm like, you're taking this piece, 3 years early. How am I going to build my other pond? That first pond, we made the deal pre-COVID. COVID hit, and then I built that first pond, and prices just went up on everything. That wasn't his fault. That was, wasn't my fault. It was just something I didn't foresee. So that first pond cost a lot more than I thought it would. So I was kind of just like, you want me to build the other pond? And I've only had it 2 of the 5 years. So he texts me that. I'm like, I'm going to call him. I call him. I'm like, none of our conversations ever got heated. They were always real chill. He's a very interesting guy. And so I never, I keep it chill when I'm talking to him. So, I was just like, well, I haven't built that other pond, but also, I still was supposed to have that for another 3 years, and in that 3 years, I was going to get enough time out of it to make it worth building the other pond. I'm like, I can't afford to build that other pond when you're taking it, The pond won't even fill up or have any water in it the time you take it from me. And so, he kind of understands that, and he's like, well, I'm coming up. He lives out of state. He's like, I'll be up there, and we'll meet up, and we'll talk. And I'm like, oh, great, I love talking to people in person. You can really fill out the situation. So the day we're supposed to meet, he never calls me. I'm sitting around kind of wondering when we're going to meet up. Finally, he calls me. He's like, well, I just got back from the piece, and I'm like, well, I thought we were going to meet up. Well, turns out he didn't even have enough. He wasn't even man enough to meet up with me. Chicken, And he's like, we're done. Get your stuff this week. Wrap it up. We're done. And I'm like, just like that. I'm like, I got, fences I got to take down. Hey, I got to come get all my time that I'm just out on. He's like, it is what it is. We're done. And I'm like, is there something I did? Like, what's going on here, He's like, no, the piece looks good. We've kept it brush hogged. The weeds are up a little higher than the grass here, but it was a dry year. And, I've started to hear around a little, and I think he just shifty, I've heard some of his conversations with the neighbors, and they're scary, So it's kind of one of those deals where you're almost just happy to be done dealing with a person like this. So it's rough. It sucks. I'm out a lot of time. I'm not out the money. I've got enough time out of the piece to pay for the money I put into it. But I'm not making any on my time. I've got time into fixing these fences that I just didn't have it long enough to pay off. So I reminded him, I'm like, do you remember when we shook hands on a 5-year deal? He's like, oh yeah, I do, but I got this and that, and just, making up excuses. And so what he pretty much said is that his handshake doesn't mean anything. He said, you didn't get it on contract. You know, today's world, if you know, it didn't happen in a handshake. But he remembered the handshake. It wasn't that he forgot. Usually people, you know, pretend to forget. So I'm still wrapping my head around all this. I'm not sure what I've learned. You know, I've definitely learned some things. So my advice to you guys, I guess, would be to get it on a contract or get a relationship with people, you know. I don't think that this world should be all about contracts, you know. Where's the integrity, you know, when your handshake meant something? And if you don't give people that chance and everyone's just pushing for contracts, you know, before long, that's why handshakes don't mean anything. But if you don't know the person, you got to get a contract. You know, I've got all my other leases, I only have one contract. The rest are all by word, and I've never been screwed. You know, the only person to screw me was this person, and I've seen it coming. It just, nothing ever felt right, you know. When you do as much work as I've done to this piece and you can't even get a thank you, it looks good, something's up, you know. So when you're looking to get a lease, you know, and they're not acting like anything you're gonna do is gonna be appreciated, red flag. If they don't appreciate what you're doing or the money you're paying, if they're just the type of people that don't appreciate things, walk away. You know, I've learned a lot from this. I can say that I will still lease land without a contract. But I'm not just going to do it with anyone, you know. You got to do it with people that have a backbone and have some integrity. So, I've got to reel this fence up. I've got to haul some hay back. It's just one of those days. A little bit depressing, but like I said, guys, the things I've heard him say to neighbors and stuff, I'm just glad to be done, you know. When someone's that spineless and that weaselly, it's just like, you don't need them in your life, you know. You know, I think Greg says in one of his books that if you're going to lease land and you can smell, you know, alcohol on someone's breath in the middle of the day, you probably don't want to lease land from him. And, you know, leasing land's one of the hardest things to find around. It is so tough to find an open piece of land. But as hard as it is to find, leasing land from someone that's just going to make your life hell, you know, it's not worth it. So yeah, this video is getting kind of long. I'll probably do a part 2. Just wanted to kind of, you know, explain myself, I guess. And now, if I'm going to be feeding hay, you guys, when I show you some videos of feeding the cows a bunch of hay, you guys are going to know why. Because, you know, we should have been coming here and had some grazing to do. And now we're kind of wondering, you know, we have some pieces to take them. They have a little grass, but not as big as this. This doesn't have much grass per, you know, square foot, but it has a lot of square feet. You know, got 80 open acres here, so. You got this fescue here, you know, that's, I don't know, some spots are 6-8 inches tall, you know, and you got enough of it, it adds up. So, when I'm feeding hay, guys, you guys know why. So, thanks for watching. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, we'd really appreciate it.